Testing has ended and now we head over to we're already in Bahrain, but now it's race week. So what can we really expect from all the shitters and Red Bull? There was enough tomfoolery in testing that we can kind of gauge who's going to be at the top and who's going to be at the bottom. But what actually happened in testing? Like, genuinely, what actually happened? So, as per usual, let's talk. If you want to type some random shit down in the comments, be my guest. Please, go ahead and do that. Whilst you're there, like and subscribe. I really don't know why you wouldn't. I have some insane ideas. Come along for the ride or journey. Come along. I just want to throw a quick disclaimer out there that I'm just trying to have some fun here. Smile a bit. It's a sport. Have fun. You're not driving. Stop getting so pressed. Now, I'm going to try to explain everything as softly as possible so no one cries. But at the same time, it's kind of an idiot trying to explain all of this. Now, to me, it's pretty obvious that Red Bull are probably going to dominate in 2024 and probably 2025, knowing that regulations don't really change between those 2 years. Every Ferrari fan's delusions of this year's going to be our year are coming into fruition because that happens every year. Plus, oh my god, they've developed a good car. That's always going to happen as well. That's happened literally for like the last 5 years. And how has that turned out? Well, 2020 was a bigger disappointment than any other year. Same with Carlos. He also wants to cook up something crazy, knowing that he's being booted out of the Ferrari in replacement of Hamilton, a 40-year-old who, in a couple of years, will be needing a walking cane. Doesn't sound too good, does it? Well, Carlos will literally want to prove himself. He's jobless at the end of 2024, and if he performs well, surely a good team will snatch him up. And Charles Leclerc, he doesn't want Carlos to beat him. Like, no. Charles is going to do everything. Ferrari already have messed up their first pit stop of the year, and they'll probably screw up Charles Leclerc in the first race. So hopes are low going into the season, but if things go well, then things go well. Can we see like an actual decent title fight this year? Mercedes, they didn't really have many issues like they did in 2021 in pre-season. I mean, listen, it's testing. Mercedes obviously want to give Hamilton the best car that they can for his last year at Mercedes. Make that whole relationship end on a high note. Not a toxic relationship and not being booted out the house, just finding out that you've done something wrong that you probably shouldn't have. Alonso, after a fantastic rookie season, he can also maybe be challenging for the World Drivers' Championship if Aston Martin have cooked up a good car. And it looks like they have consistently at the top in testing. No real major issues. They were all and so was Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll was, like, good. But even if Lance Stroll manages to get a podium here or there, let's be real, he has no fans and no one will want to celebrate with him. Never met a Lance Stroll fan, and I've never seen Lando get a race win in F1. I think Alonso has enough experience to know when to fight his fights and when to not fight his fights, and he's going to choose every single fight he can, and probably win the fights that he will fight. And maybe through all of that, by the end of the season, Aston Martin might have a good car and they might be competing for wins. Hopefully, because we all want to see another Alonso win. When was the last time? Valencia, 2013? And speaking of wins, a driver who really has zero, Lando Norris. He obviously wants to get his first win, and we all would want to hear the God Save the King anthem. Kind of sad that we really won't hear God Save the Queen for a while, because everyone loved that anthem. I know it's just one word change, but it's a big difference. That it's literally just testing. Last year in testing, McLaren were absolutely nowhere. And where were they by Silverstone or even Austria? They were cooking. If Lando was a bit more talented, a bit more skilled, he could have he was doing the best that he could, fighting for P2s consistently. And at the same time, Oscar Piastri, a year under his belt, he'll be performing better. Better race pace, better quali pace. Can't wait to see that. And that's all of the main teams. Then we get on to Alpine, which were probably next in the order. But where are they going to be? Well, they've literally been shit throughout the whole of testing and rumoured to have the worst car, alongside the worst livery. But it's good that they did add extra paint on the front nose, because it was looking very dire. That livery was looking awful. It still does, but the blue on the front of the nose does look a bit better. And also, to all the Mercedes fans, you're washed. Accept it. You're not getting back up to the top. So, kick-starting off day one, everyone was pretty eager to get out on track, but not as eager as George Russell. First man on track, will he finish first in a race? Probably not. If he gets a chance, he'll probably bin it like Singapore. Let's keep it a $1.50. Of course, Max Verstappen being Max Verstappen and knowing the priorities that he has in his team, he was obviously the first one out in day one. And he wasn't just there to hang around, was he? He kind of set the fastest lap by over a second. Hello? He also did some crazy overtakes because that's Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen didn't really have many chances to overtake last year. So he took literally every single one he could in testing. Because once we get to Bahrain, he's going to be so far clear, he's only going to be overtaking back markers, and where's the fun in that? Like, really? In day one, Lando being Lando struggled in some areas of the track, locking up a couple of times. But yeah, they look good, like genuinely good compared to last testing where were they? So I'm still looking for them. They're looking good this year, and can that kind of correlate to the races? Gonna have to see. Wait for my predictions on Friday. That's gonna be an interesting video. Ferrari have also made Carlos Sainz jobless, nearly like Christian Horner at the moment. They might be in the same boat looking for a new team, or Christian Horner looking to stay out of prison. So it seems like Carlos Sainz has something to prove, and he does have a lot to prove, because if he wants to get back to the top, maybe with Audi if they're any good in 2026, but that's a couple years away. He has to prove himself for 2025 and it's testing, but he was half a second faster than his teammate Charles Leclerc, and we know how quick Charles Leclerc is in general. So I guess props to you, Carlos, but it's day one or it was day one testing, so calm down. Franz Tost stepped down at the end of last year for RB or AlphaTauri, whatever you want to call it. But no worries, because former Ferrari racing director Laura Mecchi stepped in, and can he be doing, or will he be doing good? I think, the V-Carb 01 is gonna be, it's pretty similar to the RB19, so surely they could be bagging up some good points, a couple podiums, potentially with Ricciardo behind the wheel. And Ricciardo, well, he was kind of flying in testing. Was it like Webber in 2000, whenever that was? No, he wasn't like genuinely flying, but he was like fast. Now, we all remember the whole buzz around Aston Martin at the start of last year, but you guys, it's testing. But you guys didn't believe me when I said that Lance Stroll was going to be cooking, and kind of cooking he was on day one. P6, 2/10 ahead of Fernando Alonso. And yeah, that's Fernando Alonso, the two-time world champion. And it's Lance Stroll, the shitter who can't score any podiums in a competitive car when Alonso's getting P2s, P3s, and could have gotten a win. But the only difference in Aston Martin is Lance Stroll didn't break his hand, but he did kind of break his car. Not in the wall, but his wing mirror flew off, and luckily Ricciardo managed to avoid it, but one of the Haas's absolutely destroyed it, just like Gunther Steiner destroyed Mazepin's career. And speaking of Gunther Steiner, he's back in the paddock, not with an F1 team, but he's a presenter for, I think, a German or Austrian team? One of the two. He's a presenter, and you know, it's good to see him back in the paddock. He has a special place in everyone's heart, and probably not Mick Schumacher's, but that's besides the point. And Williams, my die-hard team, they were, let's say they didn't have the best day one. Alex Albon had to stop the car due to a fuel pump issue, but no, let's be real, it could have been anything. They just blamed it on the fuel pump. But it definitely wasn't Alex Albon's fault, because it can never be Albon's fault. Like, Logan Sargent was in the car at the end of the day, and following in Mazepin's footsteps, he had the first spin of the year. I think Sargent generally has to step up this year. If he has more of those or more crashes and less points, might be dicey for his future career. Both of the Alpine drivers were majorly struggling with their car on day one, day two, and day three, but we're talking about day one. They were consistently literally at the back around P16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you name it, they were there. And their car doesn't look good at all. Some would even go as far as saying they're struggling more than Carlos Sainz's mental, knowing that he's been fired from Ferrari after getting a win. Sounds crazy on, like, when I say it, but it's kind of true, eh? Rumors around the paddock that Alpine have the slowest car, and goddamn, I would love to see that. Now, I'm not like an Alpine hater, but seeing literally all of the other teams fight more would be kind of nicer. Like, tell me, what would you rather have? An Ocon podium or an Albon in a Williams podium? And, okay, that's a bit biased. Or a Hulkenberg Haas podium. There you go, that's another good one. I think we'd all prefer the Hulkenberg Haas podium, wouldn't we? Now, I think it's fair to say that all of the times can be literally taken with a grain of salt, as we don't really know any fuel loads or engine modes or anything along those lines. But we really can't deny that Adrian Newey has cooked up another absolute rocket ship. Now, I generally thought that James Allison was going to come back into Mercedes and literally sweep the competition, but Adrian Newey has kind of put Mercedes in their place, basically taking their 2023 and 2022 design and absolutely following those lines, but making it Red Bull-er and faster-er than Mercedes ever were. And he has really done it. Day one in testing, Max Verstappen is 1.1 plus tenths, seconds faster than Lando Norris in P2. And that's goddamn impressive, knowing that they've literally changed philosophy entirely compared to last year. And let's also not forget that both of the Hasses were 18th and 17th, which was last and second to last because some people didn't drive. Up the Haas, come on, you got this, right? Yeah. Yet again, day two, everyone is pretty eager to get back on track, but Perez was very eager, but Fernando Alonso was a bit more eager. So Fernando Alonso was on track first, and Perez second. Second, Perez is usually, well, second, knowing that Max Verstappen is always going to be first. Yeah, kind of an ongoing thing, but yet again, Perez is pretty much never second in a race. He's more like 15th. Perez also had some brake failures in the morning, meaning he had to go to the pits. It's a Checo thing to have some kind of issue, either with him or the car. And in the afternoon, he had an engine problem, so he kind of also had to coast into the pits. I mean, there's no real main complaints, as Sergio Perez did beat Verstappen's time by 6/10. But that was day two, and there was a shit ton of more rubber on the track. Can we see a championship battle between Verstappen and Perez, or am I going delusional when thinking about 2023? The start of it, at least. Because after, say, what, Australia? It just wasn't good. And there wouldn't be a testing or literally anything to do with F1 without any issues. And there was a pretty, well, big issue on day two, kind of reminding me of Las Vegas 2023. But it's testing, and a track that has literally been around for 20 years. I don't think something like this should be happening. Las Vegas, a new track? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a new track, but it's Las Vegas, so... But Bahrain, a track which was open literally 20 years ago, and it's been active for 20 years. Issues like this really shouldn't be happening. But with all of that said, the issue was Leclerc dislodged the drain cover, carried on driving around. Hamilton then hit it, and well, everything went up because of the pressure under the car. And then, yet again, the monegasque Leclerc hits everything, and he has damage to his floor, just like Carlos Sainz did back in 2023 Las Vegas. And yeah, they did have to change his floor. Ferrari's issues over the last couple of years have not only been, well, themselves, their own mechanics, their drivers, but now they've added drain pipes, or drain covers. Not too good for the team. Logan Sargent on day two also said that he didn't finish his whole run plan because of this. Sounds like excuses to me. Now, if he goes to Bahrain and he's out there complaining, oh my god, I didn't get to finish testing. Excuses sounds like excuses. Carlos Sainz also strapped in some softs, and he went for a glory run. He was just 2/10 slower than Max Verstappen's pole time in 2023, which I guess is impressive knowing that it's only day two in Bahrain. Is Carlos Sainz up for redemption? And will he potentially beat Charles Leclerc or even Max Verstappen? That's not going to happen. Of course, we all missed some racing, right? So after a mandatory safety car restart, everyone darted down to turn one. Wasn't that an absolute beautiful sight to see? And I guess day three wasn't any better than day two, because 30 minutes into the first, or 30 minutes into the session, yet again, same corner, there was another issue with the track, but this time Perez causing the issue, and luckily for Perez, very minimal damage, very lucky bugger. Lewis, it's hammer, no, not Lewis. It was hammer time for Magnussen this time, but literally he was holding a hammer trying to fix something in his car. Probably should be fixing his race pace though, because it was atrocious last year, and same with his quali pace, compared to Nico Hülkenberg. Fix up, not your car, but yourself. The car as well, because they were pretty much consistently at the back alongside Alpine. But both shitters this year. Of course, at the end of day three, people strapped on some softs for some glory runs, and Max Verstappen being the chap that he is, he really didn't. He was still P4 on mediums. Like, with all of that said, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down. With all of that said, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments if you have anything to say. Wait for my predictions, and after the first race, or after every race, there's going to be a slander video. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be funny. It's going to be a good video. After every race weekend, and before every race. Predictions and slander talking about how shit the race was, and how everything turned out. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, liked and subscribed because I don't know why you wouldn't, and peace.